So thinking about more specific child and family positions, and again, luckily, I say this all the time in class, but luckily for you as social work graduates, you don't have to be stuck in one, even if you did your specialization in mental health, you did your specialization in child and family or OCP or schools, that isn't necessarily what you have to do upon graduation or for your career. There's a lot of flexibility there. So we'll talk more specifically about these, but of course there's going to be a lot of overlap, and then there's also going to be an opportunity for you to say, I'm going to start going more mental health, or I'm going to focus more on more generalist practice or different settings. So there's a lot of opportunity for movement there. So my recommendation would be to highlight the skills related to a position versus maybe what your specialties are or what your specialization was. So think more about what the skills are and how they relate to the position, what they're looking for. Okay. So again, think about the setting. Is it a hospital? Is it a school? Is it a community agency, a nonprofit, a government agency? And think about how you might structure your language associated. I'm used to working in a large organization, or I have experience working in a small nonprofit community agency working with this particular population. So use the language that they're using in terms of when they're describing their agency. I talked about what is the position. So if it's a case management position, talk about your case management skills. If it's a clinical position, talk about those clinical skills that you may have developed over the course of your internship or through your volunteer experience working in the community. If you've done advocacy work, somebody mentioned leadership opportunities. Talk about those leadership opportunities that you've had and what part you served in terms of those groups and things like that. I also thought it was important to talk about the reference part of things. So don't just list your supervisor from your internship or list a supervisor in a job that you have. Ask them first. Most of the time they're going to say yes. 9 times out of 10 they're going to say yes, right? But don't put them on there, and give them a heads up if they're going to, at the end of the semester and you're asking a professor or your internship supervisor, you're looking for jobs, you're going to list them on there, you're asking to list them on, tell them so that they can expect to maybe get an email form, to get a phone call. Tell them where you're applying so that, if I know, Victoria is applying to this one agency in the community, I can really tailor what I'm talking about in terms of her skills and her performance in the classroom to what that position is. If somebody calls me and says, I'm calling from, XYZ organization, I don't have a chance to look at what they're looking for, what that organization does. If I know that she's applied there and that she's listed me as a reference, then I can tailor how I talk about her and her performance and her work. Does that make sense? So I think it's only helping you by doing that, and it's also not annoying me as a reference when I'm getting phone calls or emails going, wait a minute, this, so-and-so didn't ask me to be a reference. I mean, sure, I guess I'd be willing to, but it'd be really nice if they talk to me about it first and let me know kind of what their intentions are, what they want to do in terms of work, and those types of things. Okay?